here. Hello. Happy Stoney Sunday, everyone.
Happy Stoney Sunday.
Let me get
things going.
Yeah. We are simultaneously live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I always love to hear where you're actually able to join us from. But we try to stream everywhere because people are on different networks. Let me just... Ooh, bye, guys. Let me think about this for a sec. Hi again. Trying to figure this out. You think that's going to be an okay place for the...
Yeah, but we won't be able to see the chat.
Okay, what about...
I think that's...
like there.
That should work.
Okay, so we're going to get this going. I guess I should write Happy Stoney Sunday.
I'm going to get some weed ground up.
Oh my gosh, please. I know. I'm sorry we had a late start this morning. I appreciate everyone's patience this afternoon now. If you were waiting for us, I do hope that you were getting Stoney in the meantime. That's always a good way to wait for us when we're running late. It's just been one of those mornings, a little behind. But it's Sunday, and I'm ready to get Stoney.
Me too.
We've got people checking in from all over. Hello to Vermont. Hello to everyone joining. I'm gonna actually finish getting ready during this stream. That's how late we are. And you're gonna get the weed ground up. Okay, I think I'm just gonna do these little half pigtail things. That's the plan. Iowa's checking in, getting Stoney with us today. What's up? Okay, let's see what we can do. Oh my gosh. I'm enjoying the natural texture of my hair for the first time in my life over the last couple of months. But there are still some things I'm getting used to, like actually styling it. I mean, there's a lot of things I'm still getting used to. But I really have been loving just having more volume and this natural texture that I have.
Seems like it's been easier for you to care for or try different styles with.
You think so? You've noticed difference? Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, now I gotta do the other side.
We got Arkansas and Michigan.
What's up? Have you ever been to Arkansas?
I've driven through Arkansas.
Do you remember any good food? That's always my question about anywhere.
I was like an 8th grader. I really don't remember.
I don't think I've ever been, so that would definitely be a place that we could add to our list of somewhere to go someday.
I feel like I know I was with my dad, so I wouldn't be surprised if we stopped for barbecue or something. I feel like my dad tries to hit all the barbecue places in the South. So.
Mio's dad has been a professional mover, and in our area, a lot of it's been word of mouth, and so it's been a certain level of clientele that can hire a private mover to move their stuff all the way across the country into these amazing houses, and even around town, of course, all these amazing houses. So I feel like you've been able to take these really cool cross-country trips, but you didn't necessarily have anything to do in the town when you got there.
Yeah, no.
You just drive there.
We're just driving, and most of what I saw were either the touristy rest stops or the 15 minutes we were at the gas stations. I didn't really get to see a lot of the local parts of
actually
the different
chill
states
and enjoy it a little bit.
So
you could redo the states then.
Yeah, I feel like I've probably been to, I don't know, 30 plus states, but not really gotten to spend a lot of time.
We have to talk about the turkey in the room, which is the yodeling that we're hearing, the gobbling from our dog, our Vizsla. Is there anything we can do? Or he loves a good smoke sesh.
He might be jealous.
He just loves hanging out. He loves being with the people.
I'm just going to go check real quick.
Yeah. Can y'all hear him? Can you hear the yodel? Our Vizsla is very vocal. I think a lot of Vizslas are. And as he's gotten older, I think he's actually more vocal because, he can't hear himself as well. So he makes more grunts, more sounds, and more whines as he gets older. And we're just trying to keep everyone happy around here. We have a full house of 3 dogs, 7 cats, 7 rats, 2 fish, and 2 lizards. So it's always something with someone.
Yeah, he's just jealous that he's not part of the smoke sesh.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Templeton. Not this time.
We're just going to have to take a bong hit for him.
In Templeton's honor, which he's going to be even more upset about.
Yeah.
Do y'all have pets that like to join the smoke sessions? Because I know a lot of animals are like not into it. Peace out. They're gonna go in the other room. But I knew one dog that when I showed up to a smoke sesh, it would jump in your face. Like you could be standing trying to like exhale like this, and this dog was like an Australian Shepherd, springy, like boom, and it would want to be a part of every sesh. And I had never met an animal like that in my life.
Yeah,
I think they're far and few
just,
between, but amazing.
Are here for it. But
it's the stoners like
Yeah.
reborn as these animals.
So-
They're like, hit me up. Okay, well, cheers to another Stoney Sunday.
cheers.
Look, smooth on the
Taking it
clean
off.
glass. These pieces, we use them fairly often, but just to show them off again, this is the wedding set made by Roar in Germany. Oh my goodness. I want to tell you about them first.
First, you gotta cough it out. I'm gonna finish my bong hit here.
What I love about our wedding set is like nostalgia, the memories, like all of that. But in the shaping themselves, like this, I had a ball gown. I had a wedding dress that was this type of style, and you were like lean, and like this was you in your suit. But they weren't intended to have that design. Like Mio has for a long time now preferred straight tubes. You like the straight tubes. I love beakers. So it was one of those things like seeing our preferences embodied and next to each other. It looked like us. Like I just thought it was so, it's us. Like I don't know. I just love it. So these pieces are always my favorite. I always refer to it as my favorite bong. And I used to say I can't pick a favorite, but now it's like I can't.
I feel like I have a lot of the same like feelings of like nostalgia and memories and whatnot tied to him, but also like functionality wise, it's my favorite bong to hit.
100%.
I feel like
100%.
it always like hits really well. It doesn't. Yeah, I feel like sometimes the shorter bongs, I'm just not getting what I need, and sometimes like our big zong, like I don't want to pull that thing out every time. I want like just a big bong hit.
It's a little overkill to have like a 4-foot zong for the daily piece.
A little bit.
At least for us, where
Yeah.
we are in our lives
And
right
with our
now.
animals. If we had no animals and it could just like sit out on a table and we know that no one would ever bump into it, maybe. But even then, like that's a lot to clear on like the average bong hit throughout the day.
Yeah. I love the two songs that we have. Like I like the pink one. I don't know, the pink one's like heavier, but the green one's easier to clear.
Even though it's bigger, which is
Yeah.
weird. But
It's kind of hard to pick between those two, but I definitely agree that this piece, the wedding set, is my favorite piece. I can't remember if we mentioned last month what the anniversary is. I'm having like deja vu. Did we talk about how the 3rd anniversary?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, let's talk about it. So, I don't want to get too far ahead because this is the September Stoney Sunday and not October's. But October is the busiest month of our year. October has everything that ever matters to us, it seems like. And that includes the Stoney Sunday anniversary as well as our wedding anniversary. Like, if you could have asked me if I would put those on the same weekend, I would have been like, no, duh. And yet it happened. So that's like all in my mind. And when we were looking up, we were trying to celebrate the traditional anniversaries. We did paper, then we did, what was the second one? What did we do for anniversary last year? Oh my god. I'm glad it's not just me that can't remember. Paper was like the big one. Holy
Hemp.
shit.
We did
hemp!
Because
We got the
cotton
hemp.
was traditional.
Yeah,
so
and we did
did
hemp
ultimately
outfits and
did
hemp clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. So cotton would have been traditional, but we went with hemp. For this one, it was leather for the 3rd anniversary. And while Mio and I are not vegan or even vegetarian, we do choose to abstain from animal products whenever possible. And it didn't really make sense for us to get a leather gift for each other. There really wasn't anything.
And we don't really have anything that's leather in our
Uggs.
wardrobe other than, like,
I'm guilty. Like, I'm
I
just
guess
put that
you
out
have
there.
those.
I know that I have a larger collection of leather than maybe people would expect for someone that doesn't eat a lot of meat and everything. I understand, and I freely admit to that. But for wedding gifts, yeah, it's not something that you and I both have, like, necessarily a thing that we would do. So we looked up, like, well, what's an alternative one? And I swear to y'all, it is glass. So we already have our wedding glass set, and we're kind of rolling around ideas for, like, a 3rd anniversary glass present. But it's coming up, y'all. It's next month. So that's kind of been on my mind, too, and it's been making me, like, re-look at our wedding set. Can we just ta-da again and have it count? I don't think so, but I thought it was, like, so cool to see glass as even an option.
Yeah.
So if possible, I would like for us to go both melt glass in a different medium. Like, I do borosilicate work, but, like, if we could both go to, like, a soft glass or stained glass or fused glass, like, I think that would be really cool. But
it's a fun idea.
I think I mentioned it. You don't?
No, I don't remember you mentioning it.
Surprise! That's what I want to do for our anniversary. Okay, yeah, no, I mentioned it because we drove past Annie's Glass, and I was like, they don't do that there, though, in Watsonville. Nothing.
No.
Okay, well,
I got a bad memory, so.
There is a really cool glass facility in Santa Cruz. We haven't attended. It's in the South County in Watsonville. But that's more of a showroom and, like, restaurant. Like, you can just enjoy and hang out. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
But I wanna, you know me. You guys know me. I want to play with the fire. I want to play with the gooey glass.
And get your hands in it.
Yeah. I guess stained glass wouldn't be gooey glass. But I don't, maybe no stained glass. I don't like the cutting. That part is like, but yeah, somehow we're going to find a way to incorporate that, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, I think it'll be whatever we come up with will be awesome.
Also in October, Croptober, so we're probably going to be harvesting, but that's going to come up in just a second. We're talking about the backyard update, but also Halloween, and I love dressing up, so I am going to try to do a new costume every weekend. Again, I think this would be the 3rd year. I don't think I've done it for 4. I think it's been 3 years.
Yeah, this will be the 3rd.
Ever since we got married, I have been free to be creative. I don't know, that's so weird the timing lines up like that. That's so weird. So I have been planning to do a costume every single weekend. And then we're going to be in costume.
For the October Stoney Sunday.
Yeah. So you're going to see our matching costume. And that's still coming together. We got so much going on. There's so much. So I feel like the end of September is like my Halloween, because then I start instantly in October. I'm going to have a costume ready. And I can guarantee y'all, that you cannot guess my costumes. Some of them, like, there's going to be a few. Some of them you have guessed. I like doing characters. I like doing pop culture. I like using my blonde hair because it's there. Might as well. But there's a couple costumes that I know there's gonna be some, like, what the fuck, like, scratching heads and yeah, I'm so excited. Okay, so I can't say anymore. Mio knows I'm so bad with secrets. I did see the question come in of how to purchase the Stoney Sunday shirt. Thanks for asking. How do you purchase it? Coralsglass.com. Had to think about it for a second. Coralsglass.com. Sounds like it only has glass. Has much more than glass. So much more. That is where you can find the current hemp Stoney Sunday shirts. They have, in the past, gone in batches, and so this batch is still available, right?
Yeah, this
is the current one.
Is still available, yeah.
Yeah, this one is not currently available because this is one we hand tie-dyed like years ago. So there are new Stoney Sunday shirts available. The past shirts, those were one and done. I'm kind of thinking about when we're going to update these designs, because I like that they're kind of capsules for a few months at a time, and then you can have a collection of different designs and aesthetics and colors. Right now we're limited by shirt colors these with this third-party printer, and we're not physically sending them to you ourselves anymore, and that's been such a change. So I really miss that. I do miss sending them to y'all myself. Please know when you open it that, like, all of my love is in that package, and I truly wish that I was the one to send it to you. But it just, logistics-wise, of having the inventory, of having the time to do it, it wasn't sustainable. So now hemp is actually available with the drop shipping, and we can have more designs than ever in more colors all simultaneously, but they won't last forever is what I'm saying. I am still going to shuffle designs eventually. So
maybe new designs for the new year or something.
I was thinking that too. I was like, they've been available for like a couple of months now. That's an idea. I would definitely love to hear your feedback. I'm like, right, I'm rolling it around. But yeah, okay. I'm gonna take a bong hit.
I'm gonna take a bong hit with you, and then maybe we get into the grow update, backyard grow update.
October is almost here. I don't want to cough through that thing. Hold on.
Reminder to stay hydrated.
Water
Drink your water.
Especially if you've been active or having the heat wave like we are. Oh my god. Unto you.
Quick recap. In the spring, we bought some clones from a local dispensary and put them out in our greenhouse. 3 of them. And they've been going since about the end of, I think it was like the end of May.
Yeah,
it was a little later than we've done in the past. They've been growing. Last time we checked in, they were kind of had some small buds going. Now their buds are big. They're super frosty. The little pistil hairs are still white. They haven't started changing color yet. But the buds are getting really big. They've probably got like 3, maybe 4 weeks. That's why I'm kind of like, they might get chopped before the next Stoney Sunday that we have. It's going to be kind of right on the border there. But 2 of the plants are, one of the plants is doing exceptionally well. The kombucha, it's kind of been the leader of the 3 out there. And then the Alien OG has been doing like fairly well. And then we have one called the Chauffeur, and that one had some issues with some powdery mildew in like the very beginning, and so we pulled it out of our greenhouse, and it's just been like an outdoor plant. I kind of think of it more as just like a backyard decoration at this point. It's had some issues, and I don't have all the time in the world to do all of that care this year. So it's just kind of living out there, not really affecting the other plants, thankfully. But I'm excited to see what we get. Definitely off of the kombucha, I think we'll have
the buds look so
probably
big.
The nicest yield and like flowers themselves for us. I think this morning you mentioned that it kind of smelled skunky out in the backyard maybe, and I think that's definitely coming from the flowers. They are getting more fragrant for sure.
I'm really excited to see the harvest, and we're really lucky that we can grow without stressing too much about the final yield and the final weight. We have so many alternative sources, so many dispensaries around town. You work with a cannabis company, you work with other cannabis companies, that we can kind of take it easy this year and kind of just like you said, like one's an outdoor plant, the others it's like it's tradition. But for a lot of other people, for a lot of reasons, it's going to be a lot more disappointing if your yield is smaller. It's going to cost you a lot more money to find it elsewhere. And so personal grows can be fun and really rewarding, and we take it like pretty easy with ours, but they can also be a lifeline for so many people. Definitely. And I just really encourage people to at least try it and get that skill if they have the privilege to do it safely, because for me, the first time I grew, shout out to Wendy, y'all know what's up. The first time I grew, I walked away from that experience at the end, not really, but at the end, realizing people deserve to be paid what they ask for weed. Like, it was so much more work than I expected to monitor and mix and check in daily. I was barely holding myself together. There was a lot going on in my life. So just having that one plant was so much more work than I expected. And it really made me realize, like, growers are such a highly trained skill. It's not just a throw it in the backyard. Like, we are doing that now, and it's like middle level of effort, and it's coming in middle level of results, kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's I don't know.
I feel like it's, especially growing cannabis, it can be one of those things like you get out of it what you put into it. And there's been years that I've had like multiple days of the week, like entire days, to spend out in the garden and really take care of things. And then there's been years when we've had fires and like I've not been able to really be in the garden for a week or more days at a time, you know, and the plants suffer because of that. And then, you know, other life things come up, and, you know, I've not had the time to like grow from seed like we've done in past years, where I can really, you know, so like everything kind of affects what you get out of your garden depending on what you have like available to you to put into it. And I think that also like transfers over to like the like support your farmers and like pay your farmers, because
absolutely,
like it's the people growing not only the cannabis but like all the food that we eat.
True. There's a march right now across California, like from south to north, that is just about that message. So I'm super glad you mentioned that. If you don't know, please do go look that up. I don't have the direct like link off the top of my head, but I'll try to include it. That has some more info in the recap of this episode later.
Yeah, they're trying to pass a bill to help the farmers feel safer in their like unions and to get what they deserve to be like paid or, you know, cared for, etc. So.
Yeah, I think people in our industry, in the cannabis industry, talk pretty freely and openly about exploitation on the agricultural side of cannabis, whether it was the mountain growers that are exploiting people that are looking for trim work, to now people being exploited in their workplaces with unfair wages for bud tenders and growers and all these different things. And it absolutely crosses over to agricultural workers of all different types. In our area, we are so lucky. We have such a huge agricultural industry. Like, I was talking to my therapist about it the other day because I was saying, like, I literally can't talk about Watsonville without smiling, because we have so many, like, delicious, amazing parts of our, like, meals that come from right there in Watsonville. Strawberries, Brussels sprouts, artichokes. Like, I was just like, it's amazing to drive past and see all of this. And it's heartbreaking to know how undervalued and how exploited farm workers are. So we definitely can't stress that enough, that if you can grow your own plant and get to where I get, where you're like, wow, that was a lot more work than I thought, and I'm definitely going to pay the weed person what they want, that crosses over to a lot of other work and industries.
Yeah. Those tomatoes aren't as easy to grow as you might think they are. There's a lot involved in like the entire process, and I feel like a lot of that gets lost when we can just walk into the grocery store and buy what you need.
Yeah. I'm ready to smoke some more.
I saw a random question come in asking if I sing or play guitar, and you imagine my voice would be incredible. Thanks, I appreciate that. I don't sing. It's like one of those things that I am very shy around.
I wasn't gonna point out the question because I feel like
I did play guitar when I was in middle school. I played for a couple years, and then I played the drums in high school. I had a band, but I never sang. I was always too shy for that.
Right, though.
I
think they're right. Like, I read that question.
If I'm alone in my car, I'll probably sing. I'll sing out loud, but then I can't hear myself, which is probably the benefit. But I appreciate the compliment.
I think they're right. I saw the question and I was thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, I think I see it. I hear it.
If I could get past the like anxiety or shyness around it, I think it would be fun.
Right here, right now.
No, my brain just goes like silent.
I'm not good.
I used to have some friends that were like really good at like freestyling, and I'm like, I can appreciate watching you and listening to you do this, but like as soon as you put it on me, like my brain just shuts down. I have absolutely nothing to say. So I don't know.
My dream would be to be able to rap freestyle.
I think you would be great at it. I've heard you.
I'm too shy. That's my anxiety thing. That's what I make up in my head, but I never write down, and I only say out loud if no one else anywhere near me, even him. He's only heard very few.
I would play the drums again, but...
Are there drums in rap? Can we do this? Okay, maybe just asking. I saw a question, not a question, I just saw, hello, how's it been? They were glad to see that I'm still active. Hello. I am. I'm getting older, but I'm still online. And I kind of wanted to actually check in with all y'all. So thanks for saying hey. Because I love the new reefers that are following because of some of the doll posts, and they're just finding my stuff. I'm going to set the bong down for a minute. I'm gonna talk. And there are people that find me through Glass or through TikTok, but I know that y'all old OG, longtime reefers are here too. And it means the world when people check back in, and it's amazing to see the lives that reefers have built. Like, I know so many of y'all were adults when you started watching my content, young adults, maybe a bit younger than you said you were online. And now you are out there for real, and you are pursuing all these different jobs. I'm like literally gonna get emotional. I gotta focus. That push cannabis forward, and that are things that 10 years ago were just like fantasy jobs or fantasy degrees or fantasy activities. Recently, I talked to someone that works and is a manager of a smoke shop, and they specifically said they aim towards a more feminine and like brighter color clientele. And just like even hearing that exists out there in the world was amazing, because y'all know like 10 plus years ago, it was dark colors everywhere. It was ominous, smoky on the inside. You can't see nothing. And they didn't want you to see them or them to see you. It wasn't fun sometimes. And I am like blown away by the reefers and the world. Oh my gosh. But there's a flip side to it, y'all. There's always a flip side. And the flip side is when people that weren't really reefers in the beginning, and that only looked at my content because it was popular, because I was like peeking and stuff was going on, and then they check back and now my views have gone down, or I post different content, or the most shocking of all, I have lived and in fact aged, and my body doesn't look like it did when I was 21. Things like that. Those comments, I did want to take a minute to address them, because one of the things that I always respond when I get a comment like that is I ask if that factor was important to them. If someone's like, your views went down, I'm like, well, were my views important to you? Because if you're saying those things with the assumption that they were important to me, it just tells me that you weren't really here to listen in the beginning. I feel like I got really ominous with this, but in the beginning I was asked, like, do you want to get famous? Do you want to do a reality show? I think was the question on one of the first Stoney Sunday episodes. And I said no. Like 2,000 or 3,000 views on something is an insane amount and makes me nervous. I'm like shaking thinking about it. So that's always been true. It's just something that I didn't get my self-worth from, and it's revealing that other people got their value of me from these external factors when I no longer have them, and their respect for me changes, their treatment of me changes. So I just wanted to check in with y'all that I don't care, that I am in shock every day that making those early videos led to this life right here next to my best friend wearing our fucking hemp shirts. Like, I haven't had to work, thankfully, in a traditional sense in a number of years. I have so many different options and paths and possibilities because of these videos. So to me, the views never brought the success in my life. It was so much other work and partnerships and different things. And all of that I carry with me no matter how many people are watching. So if you are wondering, like, oh, is she sad? Is she desperate? Why is she still doing this? Like, I didn't start doing it because I was hoping to get famous, so I'm not going to continue doing it still hoping to get famous. Like, it's just a different vibe, and I just can't stress that enough. So I will freely admit that during the peak, I was terrified all the time. I probably came off a lot more hard to connect with because I was definitely in a scripted position where I didn't want to say the wrong thing. I was constantly criticized for things that now the criticism wouldn't hurt as much. I'm a lot stronger. I just don't care. But back then I did try to be perfect in the sense that if I could be perfect, y'all wouldn't criticize me. And that's just not true. Then the perfection was criticized. I did some things that were perfect. Anyway, but it's just things like that that I was so young. I was really trying my best. I would say like of the second wave of YouTube, and there wasn't a lot of guidance. And it's just one of those things that like I did the best that I could. If I had this mindset going into it at 21 again, I think it would be really different. I think I probably wouldn't have burned some bridges because I know that there are some people that maybe didn't mean to get as heated as it did. And I think I also would have had stronger boundaries in other situations, and I would have never done some things that I did in general. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, I think the way that people communicate on the internet itself has changed a lot in the last 10 years. And you yourself have learned how to communicate with people and how is best to, like, for people to communicate with you. And I think the balance of those two is also, like, a big factor in, like, the way that you can still, like, authentically connect with people online without, like, having to necessarily change, like, what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, like, the tone of the internet has changed a bit, too. Yeah. Because I tell him that sometimes, that, like, the peak of my views, it was totally normal to have my face and body picked apart. And people would, like, willingly engage in this all the time. And the internet's not better in how dark it can get. It can get real dark in a lot of places. I still know that. But in terms of what the general public allows or what the general public thinks you deserve just because you post online, that tone has changed. People used to just look the other way when I was straight up getting harassed and textually abused. I don't know. If it was verbal, y'all would have been like, that's verbal abuse. Like, it was just gnarly, some of the shit that was said about me. Absolutely harassment. But back then, the general mindset was like, well, you posted on the internet, so what do you want? And it wasn't like any empathy. And so sometimes I have to remind myself that so many people now have had their own presence online. We have all experienced some bit of criticism, some bit of trolling, some bit of, we're just not going to like each other, just get over it and go away. So it's one of those things that there's just so much more empathy, I think, with the general group. The dark is still out there. It's still really something to not look away from and not something to ignore and absolutely take serious when people say they're getting harassed. But I definitely notice a tone change for what the general population is willing to accept when they see it. So we have to bring it to light. I did see, do I remember when I went on Getting Doug and dabbed him out? Yes, it was his first on-air dab. It was his first on-air dab. Like, that is such an honor. That is amazing. I was probably, like, so quiet that whole episode because I just go into, like, shock mode if I'm around people and I'm just listening. It was so fun. The comedians that were on there, one of them I think I unfollowed. The other one I still follow. You'll have to guess which is which. They're really, yeah, it's been a ride. And the opportunity to do that is because I hung out at Doug's shows after the shows all the time, and I would bring him whatever method I was smoking and give it to him. And so when I did the Sobe bottle bong, I'm pretty sure there's like pictures of Ngayo Bellum, I still don't know how to pronounce him right, and he like literally married us.
I think it's Bellum.
Bellum?
I think.
I'm so good on the first name, the last name, Bloom. But there's him and Doug Benson hitting the Sobe bottle bong. And then when I got into dabs, Rose and I would bring the dabs to the show and just always have it ready to go. So shoot your shot, y'all. Like, if you want to dab someone out safely, carefully, we're in California. I was within some comfortability to do it. I don't want to say legality. But I have, because of that opportunity and like those different things, not just being on the show, but just like smoking with him after the shows, I've met so many other really cool comedy fans and other stoners and like locals in the area that would have so many things in common because here we all are trying to smoke weed with someone. It was really cool. I definitely like can't encourage that enough when they want it. Don't harass people being like, smoke with me. Some people are never gonna. And like, he's even had people on getting dug with high. I think Jack Black was one of them. And he like kind of freaked out when he got high. And he was like, he was not into it. It wasn't his vibe. I don't even know if he was high or if he was just showing what he did if he got high. But I do know that Doug wore his Stoney Sunday shirt on that one. So shout out to that episode. Anyway, yeah, I do remember that. I think I blacked out any of my speaking roles, but I do remember being there and watching them before I got called on to do the dab. I remember being in the room. I know it was real. Oh, we got a question. Oh, wait, we do see confirmation that Jack Black did get too high. I'm like in my head, like, was he just like imitating that he, like, this is what he would do if he got too high? But someone else says that he did get too high. So don't force people. Not that Doug forced him, but I'm just saying some celebs and people that you might admire for being stony or for having that sense of humor, like, they might not really be as into it as you think. Only if they want it. You'll know. Follow the Twitters. It's a pro tip.
We got a question asking where this grinder came from. This grinder was a part of something that I designed. It was part of the Nail Crown series. Like, we had a dab version, a little dab toolkit. And this was from the flower edition that we did. They're not currently available.
Anywhere? So they're sold out? Like, done everywhere.
Yeah, like, if you DM me on Instagram, I've got some back stock. But
whoa.
I believe that's the only, unless they may be out in some head shops across the United States, but I couldn't tell you where specifically.
This is like collector's item now.
So that's where it came from. It's a metal grinder that's got like a little silicone case and then a little
What's
dish
the metal?
at the bottom. It is titanium.
Yeah. I think that's worth noting because the aluminum ones, they can shred off little bits as you're grinding if they have a really close shred. But the titanium is going to be like the best. It's also heavy.
Yeah.
I'm going to just say, Mio completely undersold everything he just said. He did not design this product. He invented this product.
That's
he
fair.
invented this product. His brain, not the grinder. He didn't invent the grinder. He's not like 300 years old. But he invented the nail crown. Where is one?
Oh, it's right here. Pardon me. Here's most of it, at least. Usually it has a little bottom. Ta-da! This is the dab version. It's got some different little dab tools on it and whatnot. And it was originally designed for when people were dabbing on domeless nails. And I designed it so that you could
if this was your quartz nail or
grab your hot
titanium.
nail off of your rig and pack it up into your Pelican case or your backpack and go and not worry about it burning everything.
That's why it has a little part for the cord if you had to e-nail. Also, I just want to say he's always like, dab tool, dab tool, dab tool. That's because they applied for and what? Got a fucking patent for what it is. Trademark patent. What is it?
We have a design patent.
That's fucking crazy. Like, do you see how he undersold this? But I will say, you can use it for so much more than that because we don't dab with these tools very often. The nails are bigger. They're different. Oh, my finger that close. I'm going for a distance now. But I use the titanium, this little poker to sign all of my mini glass. We bring these on every trip because you will need a poker. You will need a screwdriver. It has everything. A little ball tip. And when we were traveling, we brought a bunch to Australia to give away, to take pictures of, to do whatever. And the guy was like, that's a bunch of product for people on vacation and not like working. Like, what are you doing? And Mio was like, they're emergency things and I made them, so I want to take pictures of them. And he looked at it and he believed it because it's so fucking useful.
And he pulled out the one that happened to have like the screwdriver tip, which I think helped us.
Because he's like, that's a
Like, it's this
screwdriver.
one.
Yeah, look. Flathead. Right there. So I know that you say it's a dab tool. I get it, because technically it is. Like, there's paperwork. But I still love it. I use it as a stand all the time. When you have the base, it's got the friction. Like, it's not going to slide against your table.
Yeah, and upside down, you can put, like, pens or pencils or dab tools in it.
Love them. Love them. So I just had to hype it up a bit more than you did. Just had to. Oh my gosh. I'm coughed. I'm coughed out.
What do you want to smoke next?
Oh yeah, someone asked us what we were smoking and we forgot to show.
Okay.
Oh my god, there's so many choices. What is happening? What's happening?
I wasn't sure what we were gonna want to smoke, so it's gonna. We've been smoking these Diamond Dubs. It's a Mac Lotto is the strain. These are.
Look at the picture. It's a Mac truck full of gelato.
The flower is dusted with
Picture.
like THC diamonds, like powdered THC diamonds, to make them like extra
Show this
stony.
side.
So they look like super white and frosty.
There we go.
And the diamonds like really get all the way into the buds, like down to the stem. So I feel like they
smells
kind of
so
end up kind of being like almost like a hashy kind of bong hit.
Yeah, it's like a slower smoke. It's super heavy. That's probably why I've been choking.
Maybe.
Okay, what else? What else do we have?
And then we also have had a couple bong hits of this Medellin jet fuel. These little smalls. This is like a more on the sativa side. Let you bust into that one. So I know we at least had one or two bong hits of that.
And you may notice that we often have smalls around the house, the small nugs. That is because they smoke great. And they are, in fact, the same strains as the large showy nugs. So this is a smalls friendly house around here.
It's true.
And, you know, it happens.
They're a lot easier to get into the grinder.
That's like one of those things that like back in the day it was like that would stress me out. That would stress me out. Oh, I gotta have big picture perfect buds. They have to look good. Why do they have to look good for y'all? They don't. They just have to smoke good. So anyway, this is a small. Say it again. The name. I forget.
Medellin jet fuel.
Focus. I don't know if I can make it, but it's beautiful too. But this is not like covered in anything. This is
That's just like straight flower smalls. So that's been good. And then we were taking bong hits of this morning, but we haven't smoked it on the show yet. This is the Terpees. And this is terpene infused diamond and crumble dusted flower. So it's like very.
It's Mai Tai is the strain.
Mai Tai is the strain. It's very fragrant.
That sounds like
I
a
feel like
lot.
it smells like juicy fruit gum.
Oh my god,
straight
it
out of the
does.
bag.
It really does.
Um,
What the fuck?
but I feel like every time we grind it up, you
This is the
mentioned
one.
that it has like an ammonia or like a skunky smell.
Yeah, not in
to
like
it.
a bad way, but like some strains will smell like cat piss or ammonia or whatever. But it smells like juicy fruit
smells like
this.
juicy
That's
fruit
crazy.
like
This
that,
is
yeah.
the same one I've been saying that about.
Yeah.
He'll like grind it up in the other room, and I'm like, what is that smell? Like it has been crazy. And then I do want to get like a close up of, oh yeah, this one. This one.
Yeah. So
No,
this
wait,
one
I
has
think
the diamonds and the crumble, and I feel like you can kind of see the like it looks a little chunkier with the crumble in there.
Get up in there.
And I feel like
Wait, am I blocking?
Oh.
Am I blocking both of our faces? How? There we go.
I think you're blocking both of us.
I wanted. Oh, there we go.
There we
Oh
go.
my gosh. Yeah. So it's like even more chunky, like you said, thicker
Yeah.
crystals all over it.
And I feel like the Diamond Dubs taste more like like water hash with a bong hit, whereas I feel like this tastes more like a dab with a bong hit.
Why does it smell like juicy fruit until we grind it? I need this, please. This is the, I mean, I was going to ask y'all we should smoke, but I want to smoke this one now that I know, now that I'm seeing it
it would be the terpenes that it's infused with are probably giving that like
what a weird
fruity
mix.
smell.
My time mix. I don't know what's going on. This has definitely been one of the most fragrant batches that we've had like at home that I like literally noticed from the other room anytime it's ground up.
Yeah, it's the added natural terpenes are definitely good. Like it really comes through. But then it smells different once it's ground up. It's not as sweet.
I mean, I know you just explained how, but I'm excited. I love it. It's been really nice to smoke. It's been good. I'm scrolling. I guess we have taken a couple questions, but we didn't necessarily say. If you haven't watched a Stoney Sunday before, questions are how it all began. It was a Q&A show. Not to say that we know everything, because fuck no. But it's nice to be able to use our experience in the industry. Both of us have had a lot of different roles in the industry and in the community and with the plant. And just to be kind of like an older sibling or someone that you can turn to, because now there's the internet and you can find answers for a lot of things, and I hear you. But when we were both growing up, like it was so much just word of mouth, and it was kind of maybe embarrassing sometimes. Like for me, I didn't necessarily want to ask the friend that introduced me to cannabis all of the questions that I had about cannabis, because they were like way more low key and chill and not thinking the same way that I was. And so I turned to books, and I'm glad that I did. I have a lot of recommendations if y'all ever want the link. Maybe I'll put that down there too. Linkity link. But I still want to be able to just be on the spot for y'all. If there's anything that you've wondered about the plant or the industry or, I don't know, social media, something in between, anywhere around, that we'd love to try and answer and help. I do see a question coming in. Do either of us keep a cannabis strain journal? I had a strain journal that began, I believe it was 2011, January of 2011. The year is what I'm iffy on, but it started like the first of the year. I was like, I'm going to do this. I think it was that year. I did not continue updating it as the industry exploded. I think it was like 4 or 5 years I probably updated it. Maybe 3 or 4 years, somewhere around there. I'm going to include that link down below too when I get this all put together. But why I really stopped doing that was I noticed so many inconsistencies and so many like renaming, and for my like perfectionism and for what I was trying to get out of having the strain journal, it just became so frustrating that people like renamed stuff and would fudge on genetics and like all this different stuff. So for me, I felt like I became really disheartened during the explosion of the industry, because there's an explosion of just like crazy naming and stuff that you're like, that's not what you grew it as, and now you sell it as this and but I'm glad that I did keep it, and I do kind of wish that I had continued the photo strain link like archive, because it would have been interesting to see the whole duration of time. Have you ever kept one?
I feel like when I was a bud tender and then a manager of a dispensary, I had kept a list for a while, because I got to try all of the strains that not only went on our shelves, but at that time, like, vendors would come in and, like, drop off samples, and then, you know, we would smoke them, and if they're good, I'd call you. And so I tried so many different types through that, and so I kept a list for a while, but it was probably like digital on my phone and not something I still have. And like you, it's kind of disheartening over the last, like, I don't know, 5+ years or so, that we know stuff is either renamed or it's just like a variation of cookies or gelato or something. And so I'm like, in my head, I have like a mental list of like a lot of the old school strains that I know that I've tried, and that is like, it's kind of like more cool or interesting for me to think about. But maybe someday I should write those down.
You know, like, it's interesting. I love the concept. It's hard to execute consistently because the industry and the products can be so inconsistent. I think is where we both kind of get to with it. I do want to say, like, there is the trend of when a strain is popular, it's very popular, and then people will sometimes criticize, like, if they're not into that strain or if they've just burned out on it. Why is everyone growing this? Why is this happening? This is so annoying. They need to be creative. They need to da-da-da. It's because that's where the customers went. And so when, as customers, we're not educating ourselves, or as consumers, or as patients, on the variety that's out there, on the differences that you might need or that I might need, and we are buying the hype, we can't really put the blame back on the growers for wanting to invest their thousands of dollars into a strain that sells, or name it after a strain that sells, or create a hybrid with that strain that sells. So I think it's really like a two-way street, because I feel like there's so much criticism of, like, well, why don't they do this and why don't they do that? And it's like, well, do you buy it? Do you buy something different than the hype, or are you waiting for someone to tell you that it's good? So if that's what you need, it's good. Check it out. I always recommend a variety of strains. We talked a lot about that in the last month's stream, about finding what works for you, or maybe 2 streams ago. And I definitely, like, can always just encourage that. There are reasons strains get popular. Like, there are great things about them. I'm not here to say hype is only hype. Like, there's a reason it somehow gets there. But it's a disservice to you and a disservice to the growers to not show that you still want a wide access of strains. So we got to make sure we do that, and then hopefully they'll come through because it sells. And that's really what it matters for a lot of growers that have to pay that much money for their licenses and to keep it going.
Yeah. I personally get tired of strains pretty quickly. You know, like, I'm like a week or 2 of something and I'm like, I need to change it up. Or even, like, we often have multiple strains at once, because even throughout the day I want to smoke something different.
Totally.
And
if you have that opportunity to do that, don't miss it.
Yeah.
Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I see the question. It is not stupid. I am here to give you a big hug. I think the only regrettable thing about questions is if they're polite and nice and you just don't ask. That's the only thing to regret. So with this question, we love it. I love it. I'm really glad you asked. What the fuck does OG stand for? Paraphrasing. You asked much nicer than that. You said, does OG stand for original genetics? Growing up in California, I always heard it stood for ocean grown.
That's what I was going to say.
I think it's one of those things that evolved with the times, and so there wasn't a documented trail of the first use, because the documented trail would also have been considered evidence when that person was rated. There was no safe route. So word of mouth became how a lot of us, like I said, learned about cannabis and also learned the history of cannabis. And I think for OG, I personally don't trust anyone that says they know the one thing it stands for. I think if you can't admit that's a little bit ambiguous about when and where it started in the context of cannabis, I think you're just a little overconfident. There's also the original gangster. I just have to throw that out there. That was mentioned sometimes, but I just don't think that's what it came from with the strains that we are seeing. But then people will say, well, that's it for sure. And it's like, if you really think you know for sure, I just don't. I just don't. But that's why it's a great question.
Yeah.
So it's one that maybe you just, like, have always wanted to ask, and I love that you did, because we don't know either. It's one of those ones. I don't know that anyone really knows.
I've always been from the California growers that I know that have, like, been in the industry for a while. That's always what it's come back to. But
wait, has it come back to ocean grown,
grown,
or they are not 100%?
No, it's always come back to ocean grown. But, like, they're not telling me I'm the one that created the OG strain or whatever. So it's like, I can only, like, it's only word of mouth from probably somebody else's word of mouth. And then you hear all of the other options, so it's really hard to say one way or the other. So I always fall back on, I've always been told it stood for ocean grown. And,
yeah. I think that's totally fair, and I just think it's like, that's true for more things in cannabis than I think we talk about or we
Yeah.
know. That's what I've been told. So we are entering an age where there is going to be more research and more documented history, and genetics are more documented than ever, and traced and tracked. So it's a really interesting time, but for things that have always been around, yeah. I love those types of things too, because I just think the phenomenon of how things grow and change and shift throughout the country, and how we're all going to hear the same thing and think something different, I just think is so interesting.
Yeah.
Is there any cannabis news that we want to share for a News Nug update? Oh my gosh, I really appreciate you asking, and I feel so bad that I was trying to rack my brain. There are so many different individual states that are having more conversations, having more political debate even, and making the steps forward to pass different laws of decriminalization or full legalization or medical use. But me and I were trying to talk if there was one in particular that was like rolling around, and we both kind of came up short for this month. If something's happening in your state, let us know right now. But I so appreciate you asking about News Nug. That is a huge part of my life, and I definitely encourage y'all to go watch the News Nug videos and check out the posts from there. I sometimes do still do a News Nug update, but I don't have like a calendar, and I don't put the same pressure on myself, because I also learned, like strains, the reported news is really inconsistent. And I love journalists, and they're working with such controlled sources sometimes. I have no intention to put this on journalists at all. I definitely have it on controlled sources of information and limited resources within news sources, that it just became hard to be posting updates that I couldn't answer all the questions I had about it. And I only want to share stuff with y'all when I can really speak from a place of understanding and confidence and know what I'm getting into. And it just became one of those things that like I couldn't keep up with, and 3 different news stations would report the same bill 3 different ways, and it just became very, I'm going to share links, I retweet, I post, but I kind of pick and choose what I personally make a huge video about, or in my opinion, huge video about, because it just, with the explosion of the industry, so many things changed. And I used to really be able to seek out, I felt like what seemed like legitimate cannabis news, because it wasn't clickbait. But now cannabis is clickbait in itself. People want to have cannabis content because it sells and it clicks. And so you're going to have stories that are press releases. You're going to have stories that are regurgitated from 3 years ago because it got 1 million views then. And you're going to have a lot of paid stories, like press release paid stories. And so I just got, it didn't feel the same anymore. I don't know. I really appreciate the check-in on News Nug, because I only want to bring it to y'all when I am confident with what I'm saying and like ready to do that. And so I didn't have something ready to go this week, but I always got so many of my stories from y'all too. Like if there is something going on in your area, in your state, in your city, a measure, an arrest, like something that you want to bring attention to, I always love being able to share that info, because again, word of mouth is huge in cannabis. It is so hard to have our community, our consumers, our journey valued in the mainstream. There is still a stoner stereotype, and if there's no punchline in the story, sometimes it's hard to get it in a larger like exposure. So definitely I'm missing them, and I need you to send them to me if I haven't seen them.
We could talk about old cannabis news, or
what's going on in old
propaganda.
cannabis news. Oh, is with the thing?
Yeah.
He's doing it. Okay. I totally forgot we were going to talk about this. Okay, I need a bong hit, y'all. Okay, so if you are watching this live, you are possibly joining us on September 11th, 2022. 21 years ago, September 11th happened. Like, you don't need me to tell you. And Mio and I mentioned before, I'm so glad you brought this up, but I'm also like so unprepared. Now I'm all stoned. I thought we were going to...
Side note, the night before, September 11th.
On September 10th, 2001, important things happened, and this is it.
Unbeknownst to the two of us, we were at the same Blink-182 concert as middle schoolers. There with, Coral was there with a friend. I was there with my younger stepbrother. And that was an awesome night.
It was a great show. It was a great concert.
Great
September
concert.
10th, 2001. Great concert.
Right.
We were both at. Didn't know. We were friends from kindergarten, separated, and then we didn't know we were both at the same concert until we reconnected as adults. And we're like, what were you doing on September 11th? And it included that concert, and we were like, woo!
So September 11th happened, and then I'll let you take your long hit.
And you're asking yourself, what does this have to do with cannabis propaganda? So when we realized this month's stream was going to be on September 11th, we were discussing, is that anything that we would mention? Because why would we? And then I realized why we would. Y'all, I'm not even sure how soon after it first happened. But people our age, we are both 30, well, I'm 34, you're 33, you're almost 34, might remember that after 9/11, there was American propaganda that said if you were buying cannabis illegally, which in 2001 and into 2002 was the only way to buy it, unless you were a medical patient in a very, very small restricted area. If you were buying cannabis illegally, everyone was, you were directly supporting, funding, and basically rallying for terrorists. That went around in American news, like, not as some fluke, weird news story that came one time. Like, no, it was a trend of the news stories to continually say if you were buying cannabis illegally, you were funding terrorism. Y'all. And I mention that because there are going to be some people that say, well, this is why they said that, and this is blah, 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 blah. With a legal and regulated market in place, cannabis would have never been made the scapegoat of that situation. Not in a big picture. I understand in a big picture there were other scapegoats that have been absolutely devastated in the way that America has retaliated unjustly and like all of these other things that we can get into. Not even trying to underscore that. But cannabis was made the scapegoat in another sense during the years that followed. And with the legal market, it's just another thing that they can't do to us. Every chance, I'm gonna get so off topic, but it seems like there are so many times that they just look to cannabis consumers or patients as, well, it's their fault. It's their fault for pride. It's their fault for terrorism. It's their fault for just, like, what are you talking about? Like, it was so wild. It was so, I think, in the circles that I ran in, and this, again, I was very young when this was happening, and in the years that followed, still very early teenager in my late teens, I didn't have as much access to information as I do now, or as much community around criticizing the information that we did have. But I didn't see criticism for these. I didn't see people saying, what the fuck? I just saw the rumors and the things like that. And it's one of those things that looking back on now, it's like... So that is...
Not to mention that, at least for us growing up in California, like, our weed came from, like, a friend of a friend who probably lived in the mountains and grew it themselves. And so it's like,
yes,
I know 100% that $50 that I gave my buddy was for the weed that he grew in his backyard. Like, he's not the terrorist. You know? Like even as a teenager could, like, formulate those basic understandings of, like, something is not right here.
Yeah, of, like, how? Like, what are you... Yeah, so... I absolutely am glad you are so... I'm so glad you mentioned California growers have existed for decades. For decades, they have been the backbone of the cannabis consumption in California and across the country. So, absolutely, this whole moving blame. And also, now that I say this, now that we're getting here and I'm super stoned, they were distracting where the funding came from. At the end of the day, it was a scapegoat of the funding. It was a scapegoat to say it's because of your cannabis use, it's because of your drug use that they had enough money to do this. Like, this whole conversation is so nuanced. Please hear that. But that propaganda, that American propaganda, was everywhere. And we are 21 years out, and I am just looking back like, if I was older at the time, I hope that I would have had more awareness. You did a little bit. I don't know that I knew what was going on. I think I was like, is that true? Like, how could this be true? Like, I was genuinely very naive, and that is the reality for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So we really were like, why would we even mention it? Like, it doesn't need to come up. And then we were like, oh my God, they made the connection. We could have minded our business and never on a weed focused show ever fucking got into 9/11 ever, but they fucking brought it to us. So I just want to say that was bullshit. I was a baby. I was like a teenager at the time, and I couldn't call you out on it, but I'm here now later saying that was bullshit.
We see you now.
That was bullshit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Happy Stoney Sunday. It is crazy. It is. Cannabis has been made a scapegoat of so many big and small things throughout history. It is like one of those things that once you start seeing, it makes you feel crazy. It makes you feel like, what are you doing? But because it's the most commonly used illegal substance and commonly illegal across the entire world, it's a very easy and popular way to control people. And everyone knows someone that smokes weed, and if you tell someone something bad about someone they know, it makes them feel some kind of way. It's not an ambiguous drug that no one has ever had a connection to. It's not imaginary. It's something that, because it's the most commonly used drug, it is one that, I mean, I don't know about caffeine and alcohol. I don't think they're included in this. But anyway, I mean,
they're legal in most places.
Oh yeah, illegal. That's what I'm talking about. Illegal. Focus.
You done with this one yet?
No, I'll take one more. But I think that is why. It's the string that they can tie the most emotion to, basically. Assholes. Yeah, it smokes slow. It's
Yeah.
like roasted. Okay, we gotta do one more toke and wrap it up for this month's Stoney Sunday. Are we gonna do rapid fire?
Let's do it.
Rapid fire means shoot your shot right now, ask your questions. You can make it a little weird, but not super weird. Like, keep it half weird. And ask anything you want, and we will try and rapid answer, which you might have noticed is difficult for one of us. Rapid answer your questions.
I'll pack you some regular flour for your final one.
Calm down.
Yeah.
I do have to plug my 3 o'clock stream, which is adults only on Fansly. You can find the info on coralcampsterbrown.com. It is what I refer to as topless tokes. Have a lot of fun. I asked if there was a color request that I should wear before I'm topless, and the request was teal, and now I forgot to mention that, and now I gotta rack my brain, like, do I own teal? I asked a question that I wasn't prepared for, so now I need to go and find teal in my closet. And I do have a rainbow of lingerie that I love to put on, so that's what I'll be doing after the stream, is looking for some teal, I'm pretty sure. I mean, unless everyone joins my Fansly and, like, overwhelms the vote with a different color, you could do that. Otherwise, it's gonna be teal. And oh yes, questions coming in. We have to have 3 questions to do our rapid fire. Oh yeah, I can't scroll. I'm like scrolling with my computer on my phone. Just infused weed. Okay. We got 3?
I think we got 3, yeah.
I say keep asking them, because I don't know what he's counting, but I think we're there. Okay.
right?
Okay. I think we're there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also keep asking. But okay, you pick which one we do first. Oh, they're packed already. Oh my gosh.
Have we tried any medicated drinkables that we enjoyed recently?
I miss Chocowaska.
Oh, old school.
Sorry, like that's the one that was my favorite. I miss it. It was so good. It was my favorite. So it's hard for me to compare anything to Chocowaska pre-legalization.
Yeah, I feel like within the last couple of months, someone gave me a sample of like a medicated lemonade that was pretty good, but I can't remember the brand.
I always like the medicated lemonades.
They're pretty good.
Rapid fire. They were on the market early though. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Rapid fire. Do either one of us ever feel anxiety after smoking? I will answer and say for me, I choose a sedative combination of terpenes and strains and all that good stuff. So for me, it helps soothe my anxiety and it slows things down for me and actually helps me reach more of a place of acceptance. But that's with a lot of experimentation to find the strains that I needed. I can relate to experiencing it, but I think that it's like a combination of strains and therapy that I got and I'm still in, and it helps a lot. Personally, love it. Big fan of therapy. Do you ever get anxiety from like over smoking a bit? Or the edibles or anything?
Sometimes depending on the strain, and also if I smoke a lot of weed and drink coffee together, like I can smoke a joint with my cup of coffee and feel good, but if I like smoke a joint and take a few bong hits with my cup of coffee, like in that time frame, sometimes I do feel more anxious. I don't know if that's brought on by the caffeine or the combo of the two.
Don't you do that every morning?
No, I wait a while before I hit the bong after I like smoke my joint with coffee. I'll wait a little bit. I usually like try.
But you
to drink
do
some
smoke
water.
the joint with coffee.
I do smoke a joint with coffee.
Okay.
And I feel
But then
good.
it's the bong hit.
It's the extra weed that then I sometimes feel more anxious, which is why I'm like, I don't know if it's the combo of with the caffeine or if it's just from the extra, cannabis or whatnot, but
it happens.
It happens sometimes, and like definitely some like, I feel like strains or like the terpenes present in those strains will like bring on those feelings. Some of the cannabinoids can make you feel like more anxious.
I have something to add too. We suck at rapid fire, but I do want to add the hopefully comforting thought that whenever I do get too much anxiety from cannabis is that it will always be over in just a couple hours. If I can rest and just sleep it off, that is my favorite personally. But it's one of those things that in the moment it feels all encompassing possibly, but it passes. It passes. So your only role is to survive and chill and do what you need to get through that if that happens. And cannabis will never bring an overdose or hurt you in those ways.
Yeah.
It's a blanket,
sleep it off.
not a... So I definitely can relate to it, but I hope it also brings comfort to know that like it's gonna be over, it's gonna be okay, and it's not gonna have a permanent effect. Like you'll be okay. I give a big hug if you like hugs. If you don't like hugs, I will just from afar do this. And then I see the final question. We both have to answer.
All right.
Okay. What is your favorite article of clothing you have currently? Rapid fire.
I've really been enjoying my hemp overalls.
You do wear them
My
all the
Patagonia
time.
hemp overalls are really...
There's 2 different colors.
I got 2 colors.
I can't even wear mine because he wears his so often, and like unless twinning overalls is a look, but it's not like a daily look that I want. So I have to put on the calendar when I want to wear mine so that he doesn't wear his. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah, those would be my favorite right now.
I mean, this question fucked me up. I was like, I got nothing. And then I was like, what does favorite mean? So if I had to pick like one piece of clothing to save from a fire in the house, it's going to be my wedding dress. But like imagining you in your hemp overalls and me in my wedding dress is just as soon as you said your overalls, I was like, oh. Like, what are you wearing most often right now? So, yeah, just different. But I love my wedding dress. It was everything I ever wanted, and if I had to pick, it's in the house, so like everyone be chill, don't take it. But yeah, I think like my favorite article of clothing currently, I was like, here, shit was going down. Although when we did have to consider evacuating, I was like, we can leave the dress because it was huge and we had to take a lot of pets and everything. You know what I mean? When we were like, if we are going to evacuate, I was like, I'm not going to like freak out about the dress. I'm not going to like make a big deal about it. We need to
Pets first.
Pets first. Heirlooms and stuff. It'd be nice, but yeah. So I don't know. Push came to shove. It actually didn't kind of make the mental cut at that point. It was an interesting question. I couldn't rapid fire it. Okay, you really got me with that one.
I was quick. I got my rapid fire this time.
Okay. Well, we will sign out for this month's Stoney Sunday. Forgot to check next month's what the date is. Again, I always forget that.
I don't know, but we'll be in costume.
We'll be in costume because it's in October. And we'll be getting super stony.
It's going to be the 9th.
I love that. 10-9. We'll be here October 9th for October Stoney Sunday. Thank you for joining. Say hi.
See you next month. Happy Stoney Sunday.
And I'll see some of y'all on Fansly soon. Bye. How do we get out of here?